This is the second lecture in chapter 19 of TRO, 5th edition, Free Energy and Thermodynamics. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to use entropy, enthalpy, and Gibbs free energy in calculations and predict the spontaneity of reactions. So the entropy change in the universe must always be greater than 0 for a spontaneous process. The surroundings absorb heat released from the system, and so we can define the change in entropy of the surroundings as equal to negative heat of the system, the heat change of the system. So we're going to release heat from the system. That would be a positive entropy change in the surroundings, and that is going to be divided by the temperature of the system. The entropy change of the surroundings depends on the temperature. So the higher the temperature, the less effect the additional removal of the heat has, or the addition of heat has, right? Because the higher temperature, there'll be a smaller overall change in the entropy of the system. And that's why we're dividing by temperature. So at a constant pressure, Q of the system is equal to delta H of the system, enthalpy of the system, and this is what we came up with in the one of the previous lectures. So our change in entropy of the surroundings, therefore, under constant pressure is equal to the negative enthalpy change of the system divided by temperature. So as we think about a plot of entropy in the universe for a given process, we can note that perhaps we have an entropy loss in our system here, and maybe we have a positive entropy change in our surroundings. As long as the net change is positive, we're going to have a spontaneous process. So to put that in context, we can think about water freezing. So in order to freeze water, we need to remove energy from the water. And in order to cause those molecules to slow down and make a connection to form that crystal. So the entropy of the system, first of all, is going to be decreasing. Now, because we had to remove heat from the water, a liquid, we are actually going to be putting that out into the surroundings, and we are going to therefore increase the entropy of the surroundings. And if the entropy of the surroundings increase enough, then this can be a spontaneous process because our entropy change is going to be positive for the universe. This happens at low temperature, where freezing of water is spontaneous. At high temperatures, however, it is not spontaneous because we can't affect the entropy of the surroundings quite as much because it's at a higher temperature to begin with. And so this would be a non-spontaneous process overall. We can now replace our entropy change of the surroundings with the equation we came up with before, which states that the entropy of the surroundings is equal to the negative enthalpy change of the system divided by temperature. And this is how we come up with Gibbs free energy. So again, we take our statement of the entropy change of the universe, and we replace the entropy of the surroundings with this term for the entropy of the system divided by temperature. And then we multiply everything by temperature, and we get the following equation here. Now, we're going to redefine negative T delta S of the universe as the Gibbs free energy, or delta G. So we just simply replace that value, and we come up with this really important equation, which you should definitely memorize and know. Delta G equals delta H minus T delta S. This at its heart is a statement of the second law of thermodynamics. And we're going to be able to use the value of delta G as positive or negative to understand whether a process or reaction is spontaneous or not. So if delta G is less than 0, less than 0, meaning it's negative, then it's negative T delta S of the universe. So that's a positive delta S of the universe overall, and that reaction will be spontaneous in the forward direction of the reaction as written. If the delta G is greater than 0, it's positive, the process is going to be, spontaneous in the reverse direction. I thought I had a typo here. It's not non-spontaneous, it's spontaneous in the reverse direction. It means if we can get the reaction to go the other direction, that would be spontaneous, not the direction we've written it. So maybe one more time, if delta G is positive, the reaction is non-spontaneous in the direction we wrote it, but spontaneous in the reverse direction. And if delta G is 0, that means that the process is reversible. There's no actually net change. This process is at equilibrium, which is something we'll talk about in next semester. So let's go ahead and do a concept check here where we predict the spontaneity of a reaction. So we're talking about reusable hand warmers. I don't know if you've ever used these. They're a solution, and inside is a little metal disc that you click. And when you click it, crystallization starts to occur almost immediately and spread out. And as it does so, it releases heat. And you have these nice warm packs that you can put in your coat pocket on a cold day. So these solutions are actually super saturated, therefore unstable solutions of sodium acetate. And it's in a solution, and it's a spontaneous process to become a solid, a crystal. So go ahead and pause the video and make a prediction about each of the questions we have here. Okay. So is this a spontaneous reaction? Well, I already told you that. Yes, it's a spontaneous reaction. You click that little disc, it causes a nucleation site for those crystals to start forming, and they form almost immediately and spontaneously. Yes, it is a spontaneous process. What is the sign of delta G if it is spontaneous? According to the last slide, it should be negative. What is the sign of delta H? Okay, so this requires you to go back and think about what you know about enthalpy. So if it's releasing heat, then it's exothermic, and the sign of delta H is negative. What about the sign of delta S? You know enough now to be able to predict this. So we have a solution of sodium acetate becoming a solid. That sounds to me like we are decreasing entropy. So we're decreasing entropy because we're crystallizing out that salt. Now, so let's think about this. Delta G is negative, and delta H is negative, and delta S is negative. Put those in little circles, maybe. The question is will this reaction be spontaneous at all temperatures? High temperatures, low temperatures, or no temperature? So in this case, this process will be negative if the negative of the delta H outweighs the positive of the delta S, right? So there's a negative out in front of that T delta S. So if you have a negative delta S, then this value becomes positive. So if the T is low, then that positive value will be low as well, and the negative delta H will outcompete it, and the overall process will be spontaneous. So we can say that this reaction will be spontaneous at low temperature. Let's try this next one. So here we have instant cold packs. So instant cold packs are making a solution at room temperature of sodium nitrate dissolving in water in order to produce these ions. Go ahead and pause the video and answer the questions. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to pause the video and come up with some answers here. So is this a spontaneous reaction? Yeah, that's why they're useful. Spontaneous instant cold pack, maybe you're out playing a sport and you have a contusion and you need a whole pack, you can pull these out, pop them, shake them up, and you suddenly get something that's cold that you can apply to your hurt shoulder or something. So is this a spontaneous reaction? Yes. What is the sign of delta G if this is spontaneous? Well, like we said before, it must be negative. What is the sign of delta H? So these get cold. It means they're pulling heat from the surroundings, probably from you. You're the surroundings in this case. So it is increasing the enthalpy of the system. So it's positive. It's endothermic. What is the sign of delta S? Let's look at that reaction. We have a solid that is dissolving. That is likely to be a negative delta S, and in this case, it certainly is. So will the reaction be spontaneous at all temperatures, low temperatures, high temperatures, or no temperatures? So let's take a look here. Is delta G is negative, delta H is positive, delta S is negative. So when will this reaction be spontaneous? Sorry, I feel like I have an issue here I need to consider. Sorry, the entropy was positive. That's what I did wrong. So I said before we're increasing entropy, and I wrote a negative sign. So increasing entropy by going to a dissolved ions in solution, that should be positive. So let's put that positive over here. Okay, so when we get negative T delta S come together, we're going to have a negative portion of the reaction, portion of the equation here. So delta G will be negative when this portion of the equation is negative, more negative than our delta H, which means that this reaction will be spontaneous when T is large, making that whole portion of the equation more negative. So when T is high, when temperature is high. Okay. So we can go through and think about a lot of different examples or just come up with different signs for delta H and delta S and come up with whether or not the reaction is going to be spontaneous or not. And when we do that, we find that reactions are always going to be spontaneous in the forward direction if they are both exothermic, they're causing disorder in the surroundings by giving off heat, and they're increasing entropy of the system. They will always have a negative delta G. There's also some reactions which have a positive delta H, so they're removing heat from the surroundings, they're decreasing the entropy of the surroundings, and they're decreasing entropy within the system for the reaction itself. So delta G is always going to be positive, so it means it's always spontaneous in the reverse direction, not in the direction as written. And there's some reactions where we are exothermic and decreasing entropy like we saw, and therefore we're going to be spontaneous at low temperature in the direction as written. And like the example we just saw where delta H and delta S are both positive, then it's going to be spontaneous only when they're at high temperature. So this is when we're going to have a spontaneous reaction as written. Okay. This is probably something you should work out for yourself. Do this mental math, kind of put your positives and negatives and think about what's happening to delta G in each of these cases. And then think about what's happening to the system and the surroundings and see if that makes sense to you. Let's predict spontaneity now using our equation for delta G equals delta H minus T delta S to do a more quantitative problem here. So go ahead and calculate the delta G for the following reaction at 25 degrees C, given these values of delta H and delta S. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to pause the video and come up with an answer to this question. So here, we're going to remember that delta G equals delta H minus T delta S. That's the equation for Gibbs free energy that we're going to be using here. I'm going to go ahead and actually change my color. Oops. Try that again. That's better. Okay, delta G equals delta H minus T delta S. And we're going to go ahead and plug in our values here. The one thing that I should point out is notice that delta S has units of joules per Kelvin, and we were given 25 degrees C, which means we need to add to 73.15 to that value to get our value in Kelvin, which probably will do this often enough at 25 degrees C that you'll just remember it's 298.15 Kelvin is what that temperature is. So here we go. If we take delta G is going to be equal to minus 847.6 kilojoules. That's something else we're going to have to pay attention to. So notice that there you have joules for entropy and kilojoules for enthalpy. This is often the case. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this now, knowing that kilo means times 10 to the third, times 10 to the third. So I'm going to write minus 847.6 times 10 to the third joules. Now, that's not correct scientific notation, but it'll work just fine for calculation here. Minus T, which is 298.15 Kelvin, times minus 41.3 joules per Kelvin. And I put all my units in there, and I'm just going to confirm I'm canceling kelvins, and I have joules on one side and joules on the other. I encourage you again to use your units to make sure you don't make the mistake I almost made with kilojoules, and make sure that you convert your degrees C into Kelvin. In any case, when I calculate this, then the value I come up with is minus 835.28 times 10 to the third joules, or kilojoules. And how many sig figs do we have here? This is where we need to remember the sig fig rules for addition and subtraction, where you line up the places to figure out which place is the least, which number is the least significant, and that is the last place, which is significant. And it turns out when you do this multiplication here and come up with 3 sig figs, we actually end up lining up on the last digit is in the 10th place. So my answer should be minus 835.3 kilojoules if I'm considering significant figures. Okay, so is this a spontaneous reaction? My delta G is negative, so the answer is yes. Will this reaction be spontaneous at all, low, high, or no temperature? So again, we have enthalpy, which is negative, so we're giving off heat, increasing the entropy of the surroundings. We also have a negative delta S though, so we are decreasing the entropy of our system. So overall, this part of the reaction is going to be positive for a negative delta H. So that only works if our temperature is low. So this will happen at low temperature. Be spontaneous at low temperature. Okay, that ends this lecture, the second lecture on chapter 19.